In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how to find the Saddleblanket rock art panel, also known as horse rock, or the Bluff horse. If you've never heard of it, this beautiful image of a horse is just one of many rock art panels that are within about a 20-minute drive of Bluff, Utah. Most are not marked with signs, so the majority of visitors to Bluff end up driving right by without ever noticing. But before we get into it, a word about why you might want to choose Bluff as a base camp to explore southeast Utah. Whether you end up staying here or not, this tiny little town of about 350 people is definitely worth a stop. Founded in 1880, Bluff is notable as the endpoint of the famous Hole in the Rock expedition, a group of Mormon pioneers who literally blasted a wagon road through the rugged canyons of southern Utah to get here. The Bluff Fort is now a park where visitors can learn about the struggles and hardships these early pioneers faced. Bluff is also home to the Bears Ears Education Center. Staffed with knowledgeable volunteers, the center aims to provide hikers headed into Bears Ears National Monument with information and educational exhibits that teach the best practices for visiting archaeological sites. Bluff also has the best accommodations and restaurants in this little corner of Utah. There are 2 resorts that stand head and shoulders above everything else within about 60 miles, the Desert Rose and the Dwellings. There are also 4 good restaurants in Bluff, and that's worth noting because Mexican Hat, Blanding, and Monticello, Utah are virtual food deserts by comparison. But let's get back to the Saddleblanket panel. For that, all you have to do is drive to the north edge of town and turn east on Highway 62 at the Twin Rocks Cafe. In about 100 yards, you'll see 2 small dirt roads on the left. Turn into the second one and park. You'll see the Saddleblanket panel on a large boulder directly in front of you. This is the most elaborate petroglyph of a horse that I've ever seen, and one of the interesting things about the rock art panels around Bluff is that there are a lot of horses. The horse images were created by the Utes in the 16, 17, and 1800s. In many cases, they exist alongside much older images created by the Anasazi and the basket makers. Being the first tribe in North America to acquire horses, the Utes became known as the people of the horse. They even created their own saddles and stirrups, which is what the Saddleblanket shows. The original source for these horses were the Spanish settlements of northern New Mexico. From the mid-1600s on, the Utes acquired as many horses as they could, both through trade and theft. When they resorted to the latter, many of those raiding parties fled west into the rugged canyon country of southeast Utah, following the San Juan River on the final leg of their journey. From the number of horses depicted around Bluff, this area appears to have been a staging ground for many a horse raid. Before I close, just a word about the Wanderer's Guide and our mission. It seems the Gatekeeper Syndrome has become an epidemic in the outdoor community. The reality is that about 80% of the western United States is designated as public land, and the gatekeepers would like to have 80% of that reserved for their exclusive enjoyment. There's nothing that lights a fire deep in my belly like a bunch of misanthropes telling you that you're not worthy to visit public land that's being paid for with your tax dollars. My bottom line is simply this: as long as you get up off the couch, get out of the city, move your body, and stay grounded in objective reality, then hey, I'm happy. But if our species ever reaches the point where we're not allowed to do that, it's going to be game over and a rapid descent into insanity. The unmistakable signs of that are everywhere. Remember, folks, the price of things is going up, but eternal salvation is still 100% free. Just don't wait too long, because that offer does expire. If you enjoy exploring ancient ruins as much as we do, be sure to check out our ebooks on Southeast Utah and Sedona, Arizona.